Welcome everyone to the show. I am Bibek, your host, and we have today Glenn Sir with us. He's an author, inspired man, and a public speaker as well. So today, Glenn Sir will be teaching us how to be a good leader, how to be a good public speaker, and a little bit about writing and all. So welcome, Glenn Sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm good, absolutely good. So can you just begin with your small and brief introduction? I introduced it already.
Yeah, sure. I'll keep it brief. I mean, if you really ask me, I can give my own introduction for 45 minutes, but we'll
Oh
keep
my
this one
God.
brief. Okay, we'll keep it brief for you. I'm born and raised in Denver, Colorado, here in the United States.
Yes, sir.
Been in the speaking business, training business for a little bit more than 30 years now. So I've had the opportunity to travel the world and see the world and share my message and share some of my training all across, especially the United States. Um,
That sounds
see what
interesting.
else. That's about it. Have 4 books written, been nominated for the Pulitzer Prize. Thousands and thousands of people trained. So that's it in a nutshell.
That's a precise answer, I can say. A brief
Yeah.
one, but in some little words. That sounds interesting. And as a glancer, if I would ask you, what public speaking is according to you?
Well, public speaking is really nothing more than communication. And people like to say, well, public speaking means you're in front of an audience. And it can be that. It is that a lot. I think people get nervous when they get in front of an audience.
Exactly.
That creates that problem. But I think if people put in their mind, public speaking is nothing more than having a conversation where people can hear you.
Exactly.
And to me, that's all it is.
Exactly. We need to make it simple rather than making it complex, that we're standing
Yes,
thousands of
exactly.
people.
I agree with that. That's a perfect way to put it. Make it simple. Perfect way to put it.
Make it simple.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can give us some tips, more tips, like how we can be a good and effective speaker.
You know, when I really work with somebody on this, the first thing I teach them, well, not even teach them, but I make them aware of breathing. People don't breathe enough. And if you're on stage, you tend to forget breathing. So I try to get people to understand you got to breathe. If
Exactly.
you
You
want to
cannot
be good
stop
at
that.
public speaking, you got to breathe. You got to make sure you're breathing all the time and make sure you're taking a pause to breathe. Because if you're talking, you know, you don't really get to inhale, but if you take a pause to breathe, bring it in, it happens. It helps you get relaxed. It helps your brain work better. So that's the first thing I try to work with people on. Saying, okay, breathe. Now, I don't do this, for pay. I just say, if someone comes to me and says, hey, Glenn, I'm having a hard time. Are you breathing? Well, yeah, you're breathing enough to live, but you have to breathe enough to give the energy out.
Exactly.
And if you're not giving the energy out to people, then it fails. When you force yourself to breathe, you slow your delivery down.
Exactly.
You have to pause to breathe. So you're going to slow things down. And that makes your delivery more interesting, more poignant. So breathing, if you want to be a great public speaker, first thing, breathe.
Breathe.
Second thing, remember it's a conversation. You may be in
Okay.
front of a room of 10,000 people, but you're having a conversation with them.
Exactly.
And each person's hearing you differently and conversing in their own heads differently.
Analyzing differently.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the 2 things that I kind of say, you got to have there.
Exactly.
Breathe and remember it's a conversation. What do you think it is?
According to me, as you told the point, breathing, I strongly agreed with that, because that happens when we are nervous, because public
Yes,
speaking is a very nervous thing for anyone standing in thousands of people. Not thousands of people. You were speaking in your colleagues, with your colleagues or boss, you get nervous.
sure.
And when you get nervous, your breathing slow. So I'm
Yes.
agreed.
Yeah.
And the second part I would like to add here is, you should have some research. You should know what actually you're talking about. Because when you have a good knowledge,
Good
speaking
point.
good.
Yeah. Good point.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
point.
So this is
Because
my
a lot
point
of
of view.
people, yeah, I agree with that. And that would be a good third thing to add onto the list. What are you going to talk about? Know what it is that you want this person to say, that you want to say to them. Have a good point, be clear, and know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
If more of the world knew what they're talking about before they open their mouth, we would have a whole lot less conversation. So it'd be a whole lot less conversation.
Surely. I do a lot of research when I'm just, I have prepared that, yes, tomorrow or today I have a show with my guest. So I'll take my note. I'll take my, I guess my screen is not visible. I'll take some notes. I'll prepare some good questions and the topics which I'm going to discuss. So I do that.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
I do a morning show
Exactly.
and it's live, so but I will still prepare for it. Sometimes I prepare for it the night before,
Mhm.
sometimes the day the morning of. So I just sit down and I'll just make my notes so I'm prepared for it. Because I
Exactly.
can speak off the cuff if I can just talk, but you're not tuning in to just talk. When you ask a question, then I'm prepared for it. When
Exactly.
I get on my show in the morning, I'm prepared for it. Whenever on a stage, I get prepared for it. You just can't go talk.
Exactly. We need
It
to
doesn't make
have
sense.
some
Yeah, yeah,
description what we are going to talk.
yeah.
And
Very good point you make there. Very good point.
that is all about the speaking. But if you are going to meet, just imagine. I'll take my case. I'm going to speak with you in an hour, and so what preparation you do to while you are going to talk with an individual person? You research about themselves.
Yes, but the first thing I do is I'm very clear about
Mhm.
what I want from this conversation,
Okay.
how I want it to come out. I'm very clear about that. So, getting ready for you, I'm very clear that I wanted to make sure that we had a conversation. That's what my
Mhm.
clarity was. We have a conversation. Other than that, I didn't have any points to bring up, just clarity. I want to be clear.
Exactly.
So, if I start with that in mind, then as I backtrack, like I know you're a student, I know you
Yes,
just
sir.
had your testing, I know that you're getting ready to grow and do different things.
Mhm.
So by me knowing you, I could be more clear. Okay.
Exactly.
So if you're going to take this into the business world, let's say you're going to go do an interview,
Mhm.
your clarity, what you want at the very end is a job offer.
Exactly.
This person offer you a job. Okay. So I know that's what I want. So I have to back up for it. Okay. I have to know what the company's about. If I can, I need to find out what this person is all about, which you can because of LinkedIn, quite honestly. You can always
Exactly.
find out all about that company with the LinkedIn and most times about the person who's going to interview you on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
if not Facebook and all those others. But I want to know all that information so I can speak to them in the way that they need to hear it. Not the
Exactly.
way I want to say it, but the way they need to hear it.
Exactly. The way they need.
Yeah. So that all comes from back though, knowing, hey, I want to get a job offer. And by the way, notice I said a job offer, not a job. I want you to offer me the job because I got 10 more interviews. I want all 10 of them to offer me the job so I can choose the best one.
Surely.
So
Sounds interesting. So can you just tell us about a bit about your writing journey? You're an author right now. You have written 4 books. How did that journey start?
it started just because I had some ideas and I gave a workshop and the person came up to me and said, hey, you know what? You should write those. You should write those down. You should write a book about it. And I said, I can't do that. He said, yes, you can. So he told me how to do it. It still took me about 2 years before I did it. And when I did it, I sent it to the publisher. It was horrible. It was a horrible book. It wasn't very well
Sorry.
written. But the point of it being so bad is that you have to start someplace. So my first book was horrible. And I know it is. And I never even try to sell it to anybody. I never take it to a workshop. I never mention it. But the second book was nominated because of all the mistakes I made. The third book is better. The fourth book and the fifth book are better because
Became better
I've
and
gotten
better.
better.
Exactly.
So when they tell you to get started and don't worry about the quality of it, that goes into my philosophy of ready, fire, aim. You got to be ready, got to fire first, then go aim.
Exactly.
But that's how that started. This someone saying, "Hey, this is some pretty good idea." And then, like I said, it took me a couple of years before I tried to do it. But I know that it wasn't good. I know I'm gonna make mistakes, so I just aimed for the next one. But I
Exactly.
shot first, then aimed. So when I shot out again, then I can aim. So when I got to the goal setting series of books,
Mhm.
I just realized that most of us are not achieving our goals.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a lot to do with the process that they're teaching. I mean, the smart goal setting thing just does not work. Smart goal setting lets people do things, it makes it easy for you. You're not setting powerful goals, you're not setting goals that make a difference.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's what so you can't use a smart goal setting for that. But once I
Exactly.
really realized that was a truth and no one was sharing that, So, we got to share that. I mean, I got to go to all the colleges and all the universities that can across the world and say, stop setting smart goals. Set a goal that means something to you.
Not
Then
random.
you have
Yeah.
a you have a much better chance of success. So once I really got that, that's, you know what? I need to share this. I can't be all over the world someplace. So let me just write a book about it. Then let me write a different book about it. Let me write a workbook for the classrooms about it. I just had a message that I felt like I had to get out about goal setting.
Definitely. So your first book was all about setting up the goals.
The first book was about your spiritual work, your spiritual mind work. Okay, and that one,
Oh,
I'm going
I
to
didn't
redo it
know.
now.
I
Yeah, I'm
didn't
going to
know
redo
you
that
were.
one.
Please go for that.
Well, it was important to me at the time. Okay, so that's why I wrote it at the time. So I will redo that book and make it a good book. Make it a good book. But goal setting, the first two books are on goal setting, just because it's so valuable. And now I'm into a series of books called The Alchemist of Leadership, which is all about leading. So I'm
Leadership.
writing books about that. How do you lead better? I mean, they're small books, but people having team meetings. You go to team meetings, they're boring. They don't
People.
cover the things, you waste a lot of time. So, and that's an answer to your question. If it strikes me as something that's missing
Mhm.
and it's
And also,
here inside of, I go for it.
okay, sounds interesting. I was not thinking that you're connected to spirituality and by talking with you, I was not analyzing that.
Well, part of that comes from one of my philosophies, and that simply is mind my own spiritual business. It's not my place to give you my spiritual bent, my spiritual thoughts. So I mind my own spiritual business. If you want to know about it, you ask me about it. But
That's good.
you didn't ask, so I didn't. I'm not gonna tell you all about
Exactly.
yeah.
Definitely. You cannot
Um,
say directly.
yeah, and people who do say it directly, don't they bug you? Because they
Uh,
just to me, if someone just comes at me and starts telling me all about their religion and their spiritual thing, I want to ask them, well, what are you trying to prove?
what you try to prove. Exactly. The spirituality and politics are something topic like this, which should be not openly discussed, I guess.
No,
It should
it's
be.
fine to discuss it.
Exactly. So I like to show you. I'm writing a book right now. Which one is that? I'll show you my cover picture. And
Yeah.
let's see. Let's see when I'm going to complete this book. I made the cover first.
See, I went to a class that said that's what you should do first. Make the front cover and make the back cover first.
Back
Front and
cover.
back first.
Surely today only I designed the front one.
I
And
like that because it
thank you,
shows the
sir.
power of the mind in that one.
Thank you so much. That's a book name I've given is How Dopamine Can Change Your Life. Uh, let's see. I've been describing about dopamine. I have written some around 70 pages in this right now. I'm
Oh,
continuing with
good,
that. I'm
good.
continuing with that.
It's hard for you to make the time with everything you have going on, but it sounds like a book that everyone needs.
Hopefully, it is going to be. Exactly. Yes, sir. So, what do you think? What is the relationship between the public speaker, a good speaker, and a leader?
Communication is the same skill.
Mhm.
You have to have communication skill in order to be a leader and to be a public speaker. Most leaders are technically public speakers anyway because they're talking to 2, 3, 5, 10,000 people. So technically
Exactly.
public speakers anyway. So you have to have that ability to communicate one-on-one and in large groups. So it's the same thing. The only difference is what we set up in our mind. Okay. The reason why we get nervous in speaking in front of groups of people versus not, that's here
Mhm.
in our heads. That's it between the ears, that's 6 inches. It's all in our heads. It's the same thing. It's how we labeled it. They were interviewing a rock star. I don't know if you're
Mhm.
familiar. You're way too young from, but Bruce Springsteen. They were interviewing him, and at the time they interviewed him, he was one of the top musical acts in the world. I mean, he would go to a stadium and sell out for 3, 4, 5 nights of 80,000 people. So they were asking him, "How do you feel before you got on stage? I mean, what does it feel like?" He said everything that a nervous person feels.
Okay.
He went, I mean, every single emotion you could was like what a person who's nervous.
Okay.
So then the interviewer goes, so you get nervous? He like shakes his head. No,
No.
I'm excited. That's just me. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. That was it's the same feelings. It's just different. It's how he decided those feelings meant excitement. While a lot of us decide, well, being in front of the room, instead of it being excitement, we make it nervous. So therefore we compound that. So that's the only difference that we have to think about is what's inside our heads. If here's a guy who's getting ready to perform in front of 80,000 people and he has the same feelings, but he's excited, why don't you just change you're nervous to excited? Just change the word.
So that depends upon us. Everyone is getting the same feeling, but that depends how you analyze the things in your brain and just come out with it.
That was exactly the point of the article. It just depends on how you analyze things in your mind.
Sounds interesting. And how you prepare yourself before going to stage? You're excited or you're nervous about it?
I don't get nervous anymore, but you have to remember I've been doing things like this since I was 7 years
30
old.
years.
Yeah. I've been speaking for 30 years, but I started when I was 7 playing the piano. So
Exactly.
doing piano recital. So I got started doing that. I have a routine that I go through. I always try to find quiet time where as things are just completely quiet. Then I rehearse what I'm getting ready to do. I can rehearse what I'm getting ready to do like 3 times in my mind really fast. Okay. I'm rehearsing that. And then I make a point to say, okay, this is what I want to get from this today. This
Exactly
is
from
my
this show.
result. Then I rehearse it in my mind. And then I find myself starting to pace, walking. And, as, and that's just nothing more than to help me slow down
Okay.
because I do get excited. If I don't get myself to slow down, then I'm going to an hour and a half talk will take an hour. So I got to get myself okay.
I need
Breathe
to
and slow
analyze
down.
the things.
So then, right
Exactly.
before I go on stage, or right before I talk, I do 3 deep breaths in, hold it, and 3 deep breaths out. So
Awesome.
in,
Now,
hold, out.
exactly.
So do that. But I'm I don't get nervous anymore. I don't think I have in a long time. I just get excited about it, and I realize I gotta relax
Everything is
now.
neutral.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything is
exactly.
fine. Like, because you have been through that condition for thousands of times. So that's normal for you now.
No, it's easier for me to do that, but I know I need to do the routine. Okay, I know I need to get that quiet time before I get started. Okay, um, actually, the routine starts even before I leave the hotel or leave where I'm going from, because that routine starts listening to some great music. I mean, Beethoven is one of to me, his story means everything. So I usually listen to Beethoven or some classical music that has meaning for me just before I leave the house or before I leave the hotel or before I leave wherever. Because I can listen to that and set the framework for the day. Okay. And
Interesting.
then when I get to the site, then I do that routine we just talked about.
Exactly.
So I would just suggest that everybody come up with a routine. If they're nervous, to slow that down. If they're excited, to slow it down.
Neither too up, neither too big down.
Yes,
Just be in an
exactly.
equilibrium label.
Very good way to put it. Having that equilibrium. Very good way to put it.
Exactly. I was just writing in my book today that your dopamine should not go so high so that you're excited. Neither the dopamine should go in the minus. It should be in an equal label. Go through your
Yes.
life.
Yeah, it should be. And we know it's going to fluctuate. But if we keep it in that area, the
A
swings are not so
box,
high.
not a
Yeah.
line, a box, exactly.
Yeah. Keep it in the box. Another good way, right there. That's a very good way to put it. Keep that equilibrium inside the box. Keep that dopamine level inside the box.
Exactly.
Because, yeah, it can move in that box, but you don't want it to move, like you said, way up high.
It's coming down
Because
again.
it's going to come down deeper than if it's just moving around.
Exactly. I will
In the
relate the
box.
things. So, what about the goal sensor? How do you set up your goals? Would you have any unique strategy to set up your goals?
Goal setting is, as you know, a major part of what I try to share.
Exactly.
I think you have to decide right off the bat what you're capable of because you don't know. Okay? But you have to decide, what do I want to do? What do I want to have? So what do you want to do? I want to travel. I want to have this. I want to do all that. Okay. So those great. You got those maybe listed down. What's the most important concept though is to understand What do you have to be? Who do you have to be in order to do and have? So for me to have and do the things I want to do, I have to be a great speaker, a great educator. I have to be great. I have to be a great educator. So that's the number one, the driver. If I'm a great educator, if I am a great educator, who I'm going to be, okay, if that's who I'm going to be, then the do and the have is easy. But I got to be that first. So that's where I lay out my goals to start off with. What do I want to be?
What do you want to be at the last?
And I won't say is at the last, is because in
Mhm.
order to get what I want to do and have, I got to be that first. I
Okay.
have to be a great educator first before I can have and do the things I want to have.
Sure.
Okay. I have to be a great presenter, a great speaker, a great writer. I have to be those things first before I can do and have. If I get them out of order, then I'm swimming upstream. I'm going against the current. If I do everything to do, but I'm not the third type of person to be there yet, it's the wrong direction.
So we have to be the first. If you want to be a teacher, just educate yourself first. Be a good teacher for yourself.
You got to be a great teacher for yourself. You got to know that. Okay, so let's take that. If you're going to be a teacher, okay,
Mhm.
be a great teacher,
Yes,
you
sir.
have to understand in order for you to be that, you have to educate yourself. You have to do better, but you got to be that now. A great teacher will be that. I did a podcast where a guy wanted to be a marathon runner. He wanted to have, he wanted to do a marathon.
Okay.
So he decided to train a little bit and go do a marathon. Thought it'd be easy because he was able to run 6 miles without a problem. But he didn't train. He wasn't being a marathoner. A marathoner, if you're that, you train for that. You're that. A marathoner will go out and train because that's who they are 7 days a week. He wasn't
Definitely.
that. So he broke down after about mile 12 in the marathon
Hello, Sabine.
because he wasn't a marathoner. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a marathoner, your part of your essential essence is to train, is to eat right. Because a marathoner trains, they eat right, they do the things right because they are a marathoner. So if you want to be something, if you want to do something, what type of person do you have to be? Who do you have to be to do that?
Decide that first.
Yeah, so that's the very first thing that we talk about, being, doing and have. So I'll sit down, write down everything I want to do, everything I want to have. But then I got to take that step back. What do I have to be to have those things? Who do I have to be to do those things? Now I can lay that out. Okay, I have that process. The SMART goal setting process that people talk about, a very specific, measurable, achievable, retainable, or relevant in time. You can't use that. That's throw it away. I think that's a very dumb way to set a goal. So throw that away. So I don't use that at all. Not in the goal setting process. So I want to make sure that I have the be, the do, and the have first. And then I'll do
Okay.
the process of why I want it. Okay.
First
And
thing.
then I'll do the process of what's it going to look like when I do get it.
Carry that.
I do the best possible self exercise. So if I'm being this, what's that best possible self looks like on a daily basis?
Exactly.
I will set a six month, 1 year, or a quarter, 6 months, 1 year goal,
Mhm.
and that's it. Because 5 years from now, we don't know what it's going to be like.
Exactly. We just know about it.
Yeah, I mean, so why would I set a goal for 5 years from now when I don't know?
Exactly.
But what I will do is I will set a goal for 60 years from now or 100 years from now.
That's dumb way.
Yeah, some time away, but that gives me the long range view of saying, okay, if I'm here, if I'm this, I can get to
Mhm.
here. Okay, I
Exactly.
can get to
You're
that
playing a big
spot.
game.
So yeah, so that's the goal setting process. I try to get people to incorporate, try to get companies to incorporate
Exactly.
because
Sounds
you're not going to make a
interesting.
difference if you're setting safe goals.
Exactly. What
And by
about
the
dumb
way,
goals? What about
I'm
dumb
sorry.
goals?
One more time. I'm sorry.
What about the dumb goals you're talking about?
Oh, SMART goals, that a specific goal, measurable goal, achievable goal,
Mhm.
relevant goal, or relatable goal, or a time specific goal.
Okay.
Okay, those things are good for accountability.
Okay.
But when it's setting a goal, a specific goal, unless it says why, You want it? Is that not specific enough?
Okay.
Something that you can measure. Okay. This, if you look at what the A and the R are, you realize you can't measure this goal.
Okay.
You can put say, I want this timeline, but things are going to change for you. So A, achievable.
Mhm.
I'll just ask you, who can tell you what's an achievable goal?
I can say that to myself.
I don't think you can, because I don't think you know what you can achieve. I don't think you know I don't think you know what you're capable of.
Exactly.
Okay? And even if you did know it,
Mhm.
after you achieved it, you become more capable the next time.
Another one.
Yeah. So you don't know what you're capable of. And because you don't know what you're capable of, and you don't know how realistic it is, that affects your timeline, the measuring it, the M and the T. What are you going to measure? Okay. So when we decided as a nation back in the 60s that we were going to go to the moon, okay, that was, some people said that was, well, here
Jump
in the
forward.
United States, a lot of people didn't like it, didn't want to go to the moon, didn't see why we should. A lot of people thought it was going to cost too much. A lot of people knew we didn't have the technology to do it.
Exactly.
While the president of the United States, we're going to do it by the end of this decade. Well, we realized that we found the money,
Mhm.
we were smart enough to do it, and we did it. Okay. And so some people say, if you look at what they say SMART goals is, well, that was a dumb goal.
At
Okay.
the end.
We're going to land a man on the moon by the end of the decade. To say that we're going to do that by today's standards, that would be a dumb goal.
Jump forward. Exactly.
Because if you did the SMART goal setting process, you wouldn't set that goal.
It would not happen till that.
Yeah, yeah. If it happened, it would happen by the end of by the 80s.
Definitely.
Because you gotta set a goal that's hard for you to reach, that you think is hard for you to reach,
But
but you don't
actually,
know
that's
how hard it
capable.
is. But if you become who you need to become,
Mhm.
then you'll find it happening a lot easier by doing the B first. So dumb goals are really the best goals. When I say dumb goals, I'm saying don't do the SMART goal setting process they teach all over. Don't do that. Dumb goals simply say, I'm not doing that process, but I got a great goal. I'm going to be flying soon.
As in the past they did, like going to the moon or making a flying air car or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Look at the Wright brothers in their airplane. Look at us
So
flying
they
to the
made
moon.
airplanes.
Yeah. Look at us planning to go to Mars here in 3 more years. Okay.
I
That
guess.
doesn't, I think it's, well, no, this is, yeah, 3 more years. 2024, we're supposed to have a mission to Mars. Okay? The astronauts are training for that
They have been
right
getting the
now.
training.
So if we're going to fly to Mars, that's takes some
Sounds
work. But what you have to be is first an engineer. You have to be an astronaut. You have to be all these things first. Anyway, I go on about that. I'm passionate about that. I think that's a destruction of our society in a lot of ways when we don't set
dumb goal.
large goals.
Exactly.
We set
Have
something
you
safe.
ever set up any dumb goal in your life?
Oh yeah, yeah. Now you're going to ask, what are they? Well, I have a
Surely
rule.
gonna ask.
Yeah,
I'm getting excited for that.
but my rule simply is you don't share that.
Okay, sure. I'll just
Okay.
cut this part.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to share it. But here's why. Okay,
Okay.
so let's say I shared it. Okay,
Okay.
and if somebody who doesn't really like me,
Okay.
they're going to start saying stuff like, well, that doesn't make sense. You're not going to do that. So that could affect me a little bit. Okay. What affects you more, though, is someone who loves you. They might look at you and say, well, that might be a little bit hard. Do you really think you can do it? No one else has done it. Now, that's too much for anybody to do. The ones who love you want to protect you, so they're going to try to protect you from what they see as a fall. Then you have your friends who want to remain your friends, but so which means they don't want you to grow to that level. They want you to stay where they are. So you have these three different camps that are out there that you personally have contact with that will sabotage that. Two of them won't do it on purpose. One of them will sabotage that dream and start trying to put negative thoughts in your head. Then
Exactly.
additionally, you have TV news, radio news, which is all set up to sell something, but they know to sell something the most is that they have to give you negative information. They have to, the negative, the more negative the story is, the more you're going to watch it, the more they can sell their commercials for, the more money
Definitely.
they can
Yeah.
make. Okay. That's why there's one station here that is will constantly repeat the big lies, repeat all
Again
the
and
negative
again.
things, try to make people feel under a threat and harassment, because those people stick with that TV station and then they can charge more for their products, their commercials. So you want to avoid those,
Mhm.
certainly, and you want to just be out of that. I recommend that you don't even watch the news. You're going to know everything you need to know anyway.
Anyway,
Why are you,
exactly.
yeah, why
Wherever
are
I
you spending
am.
time watching the news? So avoid that
Mhm.
and avoid negative people. You're going to avoid negative people by not sharing your goals like that. They're written, they're in a journal. Okay, you got them all written. But now, if you're my accountability partner, you have to hold me up accountable for some things. Okay, so if I say, okay, I know what my goal is over here, but in order to reach that, I have to talk to 1,000 people a week. Okay, I'll share that with you
Okay.
because that's one of my accountability things.
Mhm.
So I have to be able to. I want to talk to 1,000 people a week via podcast and via workshops and things like that.
Exactly.
And that, so that's my goal. The measurement is 1,000 people.
Mhm.
It's achievable because I can work to get there.
Exactly.
And if I don't do it, then I'm not living my integrity.
Exactly.
It
You're
relates
in
directly
yourself.
to what I need to do, and I put a timeline on it. My
Exactly.
accountability things are different. I'll
Mhm.
share what I'm accountable for with the right people, the accountability people. But the large
Definitely.
overarching goal, you don't need to know that. You just need to know what you're going to hold me accountable for. So that's why, I mean, because you're going to get people don't want you to accelerate past them.
Exactly.
I promise you, once your podcast gets going and your book gets going, the friends you have now, they're going to
Mhm.
change unless they have grown with you.
Sounds interesting. I'm able to relate the things right now itself. The
Say it
things
again.
which I'm able to relate the things which you just told. I'm able to relate with my society now.
I think a lot of people are, except for those who have already given up.
That might be.
Yeah. So if you've given
Exactly.
up on life, then you don't relate to it, and then they try to pull you back to them
Exactly. They just want to be at the point actually they are. They don't want to see you going forward.
because they don't want to risk getting hurt. They don't want to risk something going wrong.
Exactly. So that is the
So
reason
yeah,
we need to keep surrounded with some good people.
right, right, and that's why you talk about mastermind groups and things like that. So you can be surrounded by great people. Okay. Even if you don't have a mastermind group, people that you can talk to,
Mhm.
you do because you have books you can read.
Exactly. And this time is all about technology. Let me tell you my story.
Yeah.
I am not from a native English speaker, but I was very fascinated about learning English. So, as you know, like whatever you learn, any language, you need some good environment around you to make yourself
Yes.
practice. So I thought, I looked around, I didn't find anyone who was speaking English with me. I found a couple of people, but they were far from me. So I thought books can be the best friend for me to make an environment. Internet is there, whole world is with me. So
Yes.
I
Yes.
got many workshops and applications were there, which helped me to improve my English a lot. That's my way.
Yeah. And that's the way to do it.
Exactly. And that is the way. Exactly. Sure. Right.
That's the way to do it. Surround yourself, and we have the power of the internet. You know, your phone you have is more powerful than the computers they put man on the moon with. All
Definitely.
the
The
computer
one.
power, yeah, just that your phone all by itself is more powerful than all the computers they use to put man on the moon. Okay,
Exactly.
so why not use that information?
Surely. Exactly.
Why not learn something? I would say don't use it for the negative news or
Mhm.
to the gossip things, but why not use that for your betterment? Okay,
Improvement.
you know, one of my heroes is Abraham Lincoln. I think I've read almost every single book about Abraham Lincoln. Read his papers, read stuff he did, all because of the internet.
Exactly.
You know, I
And
got
he's your
all his
friend right
papers.
now.
Yeah, yeah, everything he wrote when he was in office, Abraham Lincoln. I read it.
That sounds interesting.
History books I read. You know, because he's part of my decision thinking process. How did he decide to do this? How did he handle this thing?
Exactly. You learn
That's your
that.
mastermind. And you're very smart to use your computer, your phone, internet to get that information. Because
Mhm.
everything you want to know about writing a book, well, first thing, everything you want to know about writing a book, you already know. But if you want to know more, you can go to the internet and just put that in. Yeah, a
Exactly.
lot of people will be trying to sell you stuff, but
But
each
still,
might have a little bit of wisdom that works.
definitely. But still, we're getting a lot of exposure when you have the internet.
Yeah,
Very big
you get a lot of
exposure.
exposure to a lot of great ideas.
Exactly. In comparatively to the past generation, which was born somewhere around 1990s or 1910, we got a good exposure.
Well, think how lucky we are
Definitely.
when President Obama was running for his second term of office. I heard him give a speech, and he said this. I paraphrase it, but he's saying, "Our power of our computers, our power of what we can do, is so much better than what it was even 20 years ago, even 5 years ago." So you're in a generation right now where you can create an international company within 5 minutes,
Just
10
a
minutes.
second.
Yeah. Who could
Exactly.
do that? Who could do that? So I can have staff all over the world with one posting. You know,
Definitely, you can.
I can go to guru or whatever.com and I can post there, or I can just put a thing up on Twitter.
Twitter or Facebook. Exactly.
Yeah. And I can fill my staff with people that way. Okay.
Just a couple of seconds and a couple of
Yeah.
minutes ago.
Yeah. So why not do that? I mean, if manufacturing is cheaper here in Taiwan than it is in India or in Denver or in the United States, why not go? I can have that. I don't have to be Ford or Nike or any of those guys to use that market. So I have access to that right now.
Exactly.
So yeah, the
Find
power
the
of the
best.
internet.
Exactly. And we're lucky enough. So,
Yes,
what about the spirituality part of your life? How did spirituality came in your life? So,
it came. I think I was always raised in a religious environment, but when it really came was having a tough time. I was not married, and I had a daughter coming into the world, and her mother did not want me to be involved, did not want me to do anything but give her money for it. I wanted my daughter, so I was at a real bad low spot.
exactly.
And a friend of mine said, "Hey, you need to go to this church." And I said, "Okay." You know, I grew up in churches, but I went to this church and went to the first service. So locked into what they were saying, I stayed for the second and the third service just to hear it again. I found my spiritual home because what they were teaching right then and there is your spirituality that doesn't it counts. So as it went on, I found out people of different religions, they go to their own churches. Like if it was Catholic or Jewish, they go to their own church first, then come to that church. Okay? There's a community, and the more I learned about this, the more I learned about Ernest Holmes was the founder of it. The more I learned about his philosophy, the more I started learning that stuff. And
Mhm.
thank you for reminding me because I've kind of fallen out of touch with that during the pandemic. So I'm going to get back into that.
Exactly.
But the idea was everything you need to be is already
Mhm.
there. You just need to connect with it.
Definitely. We need to connect with
So
them.
that helped me get through that tough time. It helped me to start and refocus. So like again, I say thank you again for reminding me because I kind of forgot until I said it just then. How much power that held. Okay, just taking the time to be quiet. I do that every day anyway, but taking the time to really be quiet, listen to the silence with the thought of, okay, I'm not trying to get an answer, but I know I'm going to get answers. Listen to that answer that your instincts are telling you, your gut, um,
What do
all
you
those things. So
exactly?
that's how I kind of got re-fired up. Was going through a really bad time.
You charged up again.
Yeah, and so they just
Exactly.
said, "No, this is a great spot." And now this COVID thing and health issues. Now I kind of realize, like, wait a minute, because of what you just asked me. Wait a minute, I can get back to my spiritual studies. I used to study it spiritually about an hour a day.
Okay.
Okay. Um, I realized that there's many roads to the truth. So I listened to, and I still do, if YouTube is on, I'm listening to
Mhm.
some kind of spiritual leader, because there's
Yes.
many paths to the truth. So, all over the world, Satguru,
Sadhguru.
yeah, I
That's from
listen to
India.
him. Yeah, I
Exactly.
listen to him all the time.
Goodness.
Yeah,
He's
it's just
brilliant.
at least once or twice a day. Okay.
Sounds interesting.
And when he was
Uh,
going through the United States just a couple months ago, I tried to catch up with him, but he was driving his motorbike, and I could never get to him right where he
exactly.
was after he went through. Yeah.
He's very passionate about his motorbike.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He's
And
always passionate.
he's a very good teacher.
Exactly.
Dr. Joe Dispenza is very good. So there's a list of people that are very good teachers, because what they do is they remind you of who you already. They remind you of who you are and what you already know.
Exactly.
Very good teacher.
Uh, my last guest was a young boy who was 17 years old, just from my age. His name was Prajwal. And
Mhm.
he, at that age itself, he was connected with spirituality, like, very connected. And he was following Sadhguru as well. So I talked with him and I found, and I was comparing side by side how I am 18-year old and how he is a 17-year-old boy. And I was able to see how clear he was about his things when he
Yeah.
have followed spirituality. He knew everything what he used to need, he should be knowing at that moment, and he was very clear about that. So I thought I
Yeah.
need to path.
Yeah. So you and I both, maybe that's our project together, because I think that's kind of the key. I mean, that silence is the key. When you get that silence, when
Mhm.
you just listen to nothing, have no
Nothingness.
thoughts,
Exactly.
that's my theory is that that's when the vibrational universe communicates with you. When your mind is quiet of thoughts,
Exactly.
and the vibrational universe speaks with you, works
Mhm.
with you, that's when you become aware of what's already a part of you. So if you
Exactly.
have to make a decision, and
Quiet.
I do this all the time. I learned it in my spiritual home. If I have to make a decision,
Yes, sir.
what I always do is silence my mind for one breath, in and out, and then the decision pops out.
Again, it comes up.
Just in
Exactly.
and out, boom, yes, no.
That sounds
Just do it this way.
interesting. There is in a chapter in my class. I'm a high school student, and there is in English itself. There is a chapter called "Keeping Quiet," and the main theme
Mm.
of, I hope you heard about that.
No, I
And
haven't heard about it.
that chapter means, the main theme of that chapter is, we'll stop everything for a while. And so here in that book, it has been described for 12 minutes. We'll just stop everything for 12 minutes. We'll not fight on the border. We will not kill them fishes by the fishermen, and nothing will be done. Everyone will be silent and introspecting themselves, looking at what actually we're doing, and let the nature heal a little bit and themselves as well.
And if we could do that for just 10 minutes,
Exactly.
do that for just 10 minutes. I mean, that's the power of some of these, they call them prayer circles and meditation groups and things like that. If everybody can be quiet with the goal of the end being, okay, I want to create peace, but I'm going to take 10 minutes just to be quiet. If I can get that 10 minutes just to be quiet, and there's 50 people doing it, we can change the world.
We're going to change the world.
Yeah.
I remember things when the first 20 or 21 days lockdown was starting in India. I was able
Mm-hmm.
to see the nearest lake of my place that used to be very dirty. But as soon as the 21-day end up, I just went to there. And I just saw the river was clean. I was shocked at moment because my government was investing thousands of money to just clean that river, but that was not getting cleaned.
Mm.
But as soon as just that 21-day of silence in this world or India made it clean automatically. So I found the power of silence at that moment.
See, I wish more people would understand that. Just being silent and leaving it alone for 21 days.
That can change the life.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but that's your life too. That's the
Sure.
power of your life too. Um, in my show this morning, we're talking about the ideal of just drinking a glass of water in the morning before you start your day. And I said, let's just do that as a group. And 6 weeks from now, let's see where we are. Just that glass of water. Same thing goes for meditation. If you meditate, I'd say 20 minutes is enough. But if you meditate for 20 minutes, you can't really see the change it makes tomorrow. But 6 weeks from now, you can look back and see how large of a change that happened to you.
Definitely.
So just do that 20 minutes. That's what I say.
Exactly. Just give up some 20 minutes to yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And that's going to change your life anyway.
And if we can get 100,000 people or 100 million people to give up that 20 minutes all in the name of peace, we're done. We're not going to have any of these issues.
Definitely. When we say we need to change the world, people think we need to do many things. We have to cancel the factories, industry, we have to close. That's not the solution. We need to be taking some small steps, and that's enough.
Well, like you said, though, we need to be going quiet.
Exactly.
We need to go quiet. That's the first step we got to do is go quiet. Allow the universe to communicate with us. So when we finish being quiet, we know what we have to do. It's something, it's inspired action. It's just not being quiet and taking no action, but it must be inspired action, which means you've gotten a message from the universe that says, okay, going to make things better by me not eating meat. Okay, that's one thing that came to me back then, 1995, probably before you were born, when I found this church. And to me, that was just what it was. Okay, if I'm going to help, because we had a thing where we were all praying and talking about making the world a better place, and it was a 2-night affair that we're doing. So the first night was 24 hours of prayer and all that kind of thing, meditation. But it was all about finding peace in the world and helping the water supply and all that. And my answer was, well, you know what? Stop eating meat. Exactly. And so I have. I mean, I'll eat fish, but I won't do anything else.
Exactly. We're killing
them. I realized raising cows and all those type of things for us to eat was drying up the water supply.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's another story. You asked me about spirituality, and I said, so that's the part of the reason why I don't volunteer, because we could get off of this for the next 10 hours if we have the time. So
that's it. So, you know, so you're telling the universe we have to communicate with the universe. I hope you know about the book called Secret.
Yes, yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So in that book, that has been told that we have to connect the, frequency which is coming from the universe, the frequency which you need actually, if you want to achieve something, you need to attach that frequency. What do you think about that?
Well, I just changed. I think it's a great book. I just changed the word frequency to vibration. Okay. It's not really, when you think of frequency, you think of radio frequencies, but everything vibrates. A piece of wood vibrates, just real slow. Things vibrate really high. The universe, once you set up your vibration to match the universe, that opens up the door for things to flow through. So it's a good book. It's a good book.
That's interesting.
And it gets you started down the path of saying, okay, this is what I have to do to bring the things into my life. So it's good. That's
good. You know, that book is making, I love that one part, which is like gratitude. You have to thank the things which you have. Yes. I do that right now. I always thank with the God that actually everything is with me. I have a good laptop. I have a good phone with me. I have a good parents and a family who are loving and caring. And that is the way of life you live.
Well, and think about that. How do you feel when you're grateful? The vibration changes in your whole body.
Exactly. When you're grateful.
And so, and that's vibration can connect directly to the universe to help bring you things, because if you vibrate at that level, the universe gives you at that level.
Gives you back again something new.
Yeah. Okay. So you have to vibrate at that level. You have to be at that level in order for the universe to be at that level for you. Exactly. So, I mean, can equate it to a lot of things: problem solving, wealth, all those type of things. But if you are who you're supposed to be, I am who I'm supposed to be, the universe will vibrate. The universe is already there.
The universe is always ready.
Yeah. I just have to get this physical body there. And I can do that by being quiet.
Being quiet, exactly. So the conclusion comes here is being quiet and introspecting yourself is very important.
Yes, it's very important. And then taking divine action. What you're led to do, then to go do it.
And what about affirmation? Have you, what do you think about affirmation?
As long as they're delivered with emotion,
Mhm.
they're fine. Okay. I believe that the most powerful affirmation ever written is just two words, and that is I am. Okay.
I am, exactly. It's that.
Yeah. So I think you can tag some things onto it. But if you think about just those two words, I am, and the
I
power of
am.
you saying I am, well, that could be I am everything I'm supposed to be. I am a great communicator. I am a great leader.
Exactly.
I
We can
am
add
the
many
person.
things.
Yeah, you can add many things to it, but those first two words are so important because you're declaring to the universe, this is where you are, match me. A
You're
lot of us don't.
sending a vibration that I am.
You are the vibration of I am. Yes,
Exactly.
I
Sending
am.
some good vibration to the universe.
Yeah. So you hear different people with different interpretations of that. I just say, be that. Just say, I am, and this is what I am.
Exactly.
And it works.
It is going to be work for us. So, sir, what do you think about, many of the people say money is not going to matter in your life? I'm taking the podcast towards finance sector as well a little bit. What do you think?
That's
Many people
wrong.
say
That's
money doesn't
wrong. I'm
matter.
sorry.
Exactly.
Money is energy. Money
Okay.
creates freedom. Um, Not having money does nobody any good. So let's put in the podcast room. If your podcast is not making money for you, what do you have to do? You have to go someplace to make money.
Definitely, I'm going to quit that.
So it won't be long before that is more takes more weight from you than the podcast. You'll stop the podcast. That's why so many people start podcasts and last 6 weeks, a month, and then quit because they're not getting the money from it.
Definitely.
Because you have to have a way to continue to grow. Money creates freedom.
That's very
That's all
important.
there is to it. You can get more money by being I am free. Okay. You'll get better decisions about that. But as a podcaster, you have to find ways to monetize your podcast.
Definitely. I need to
Now,
find
this is a
some.
lesson I'm still learning. I have to find better ways to monetize my podcast. Okay, so I'm starting to
Exactly.
find those.
I'm also still searching for that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do. I mean, I use not to give them a commercial, but I use Anchor.fm.
Exactly. And Anchor is a good way. It doesn't need any kind of criteria for that to directly
Right, and
monetize.
they'll monetize you right away. All you have to do is make a commercial for them and say, hey, if you want to start a podcast, go to Anchor.m. So go to Anchor.fm. The more people you get, the more you get pod for. Okay.
Definitely.
But
Uh,
what's really useful about that is when you do your book, you can actually say, okay, this segment or this guest is brought to you by this book. When you start moving stuff up, if you have 1,000 listeners, how many copies of the book are you going to sell? 2,000 listeners. How many copies of the book? You got to monetize it that way. When people say, oh, no, you don't monetize that, why you don't need to monetize that, what they're saying to you is you don't need to make money.
exactly.
Well, all across the world, we need to make money just to be free. The more
Just to
money
be
I make,
free.
the more people I can help.
Definitely.
And the more people I help, the more money I make.
Sure. Exactly.
So yeah, I would just tell them to mind your own business there. You go out and you do what you want to do. I'm gonna make money. So
I'm making. I want it. So, you have any advice for young people like me? I'm young right now, 18, just 18. I just started my life. What advice could you give me to become financially freedom in just a few years? Or
do what you love.
okay,
Okay. Be who you are and do what you love. Since I started this and I stopped working for other people
Mhm.
and I started working for myself because I love this.
Exactly.
I have not worked a day in my life since then.
Definitely.
Until the pandemic came around, I was doing very well. But I didn't work a day in my life since then. It didn't feel like I was working because I was doing what I love.
Choose to do
Do
something
what
that
you
you
love.
love.
I mean, I tell my daughter that all the time,
Mhm.
and she's a great photographer. She does wedding photography, and she doesn't want to stop doing that because she makes some money from that. What she wants to do is be a nature photographer. I just keep on saying, do what you love. Because if you keep on doing what you don't love, you're going to lose your interest for photography altogether. Do what you love. So she's just now starting to understand it. So my advice, do what you love. Be who you are.
Exactly.
Do
Be
what you
natural
love.
and just be the things which you love and be the who you are.
Yeah. Because the
That's
money will eventually get there. But even if you had to take another job to pay the bills in the short term,
exactly
if you're doing what you love, that job doesn't seem so bad.
the things which I love to do. If I get a little less money itself, I'm happy with that. And I'll just make more again. I'm happy and I'm just working super hard to make more money. But the job which I doesn't like it at all, but still I'm working there. That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think there's a difference between a job and a career. So if you have to take a job at a convenience store to pay your bills, but you're only working there overnight, but you can work throughout the day. So
Okay.
I have a good friend who was a contract speaker. He gets hired by a company to go out and do their material. And when they were going out live, he was on the road 3 weeks a month, not at home, training people for 6 hours, 7 hours a day.
Okay.
So it was a 10-hour day, really, at the average 10, 11-hour day. He didn't have enough time to do what he loved. His career was being a contract speaker. But what he wanted to do was be a keynote speaker.
Okay.
But he didn't have time to do those things because he was
Exactly.
7 hours, 10 hours a day, he was doing the contract work.
Contract work. Then.
But that's not what he loved. So he eventually kind of dropped out of the whole thing. But now his fire is back because I said, just do these things. I sent him a checklist and said, this is what you have to do. Yes, it's marketing. But the first time you give a speech based upon your marketing, by the third time, you've made as much money doing that as you would have made all year with this other company, and you're doing what you love.
Definitely. So the
So
main whole concept depends upon do what you love.
do what you love. And that's what I tell you and tell myself and tell my daughter and tell everybody. Do what you love. That, that's, yeah, I appreciate you letting me share my thoughts from everything that we did. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you very much for
Thank
that.
you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir, for being in the show. And that was really nice talking with you. I have enjoyed a lot.
Certainly my pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. And hope to see
All
you
right.
soon again in this show again.